So as everybody's coming in, let's just, because I like to honor people's time and just do things, keep to the schedule. Let's go ahead and just get going with our normal routine. So whether in the chat or if you are now a panelist, if you've got any wins or gratitude you want to share, I'd love to kick off the morning just knowing who had some success over the last week in real estate, or if there's anybody out there in the world that they want to show gratitude for something, for some act of kindness that you all received. Anybody have anything come to mind? Steve, what do you got?
Talking about me?
Yeah, give me a win from your last week.
I think the win from last week is maybe not so much real estate related, but it was the IndyCar golf tournament. It was pretty successful. They contributed some good funds. It looks, I don't know the exact dollar amount yet, but to the couple of needing charities in this area, mainly having to do with young kids. And it was it felt good to do that and give back to the community.
Love that.
Hours before the event begins.
Love that. All right. Anybody else, anything that you want to share, anything before we hop in?
I've had a couple doctor's appointments in the last couple of weeks and my tests have all come out great.
There we go.
Without your health, you don't have anything else. So I'm happy.
Take that. Congrats.
Thanks.
On a clean bill of health. All right. Well, let's rock and roll. Again, like guys, if you want to come in and click that panelist button, that means you get an opportunity to interact with us as we go. If you want to just stay in the audience, not a problem. But if you see that panelist thing pop up, it just means that you get a chance to come off mute and share any thoughts with us as well. But always you have access to the chat feature in there, and Laura will watch the chat for me in case there's something in there that I need to answer or address as we go through. But today I wanted to hit on something that I actually did this week, and that is using ChatGPT to help price a listing. So I thought, look, if you guys have kind of figured out over these last couple of weeks, I've just been spending more and more time using these AI tools, and I thought, look, I'm going on this listing presentation. I've got a pretty good feel for what I think the house is worth. I got a pretty good idea for the neighborhood. It's in El Dorado Hills. I know the neighborhood well, but I just wanted to see how the machine would do as far as it relates to helping me price the house. And it was a cool exercise. I thought, hey, if I'm doing this, it'd be great, something to share with you all too. So just in the chat real fast, to this point, has anybody else used an AI tool to help you come up with a price on one of your listings yet? Has anyone taken the step yet to use ChatGPT or another LLM in order to help you with a pricing recommendation on one of your listings? Okay. Awesome. Got it. Thanks, Charmy.
Yeah.
So I'll just kind of walk you through how I thought about this. So first and foremost, why use the tool in the first place? So first things first is obviously picking the right price on the home in every market, but especially in this market, picking the right price is the number one factor in having selling success on the listing. But I want to be clear from the very beginning is the tool is not meant to replace you. Think about it as an assistant in the process. You're still the expert. You still know more than what the machine does. However, it's a good guide to make sure that you're on the right track. And the way I say it here, it's a supplement for your market research. It can help you draft your comparison analysis. And then ultimately it gives a really nice, or if you prompt it to, will give a really nice seller-friendly explanation about how you came to the decision you made as far as your recommendation on pricing. And just like we've gone through in the past couple of weeks, it really is all about the prompting. And so here's a couple of ways to think about it. And then once we go through this slide, I'm actually going to walk through a case study on that house that I actually went on a listing appointment for, so you can see it. So here's just some prompts to consider. Just to get you right off the bat is, give me a pricing strategy for 123 Main Street with the following features. So if you have done on your pre-listing call, on your consultation call before you're going to go meet with them, if you've discovered anything about the house that you think would impact the value, either to the good or to the bad, give that data into the machine. So maybe it has own solar. Maybe it has leased solar. Maybe it backs up to a busy street. Maybe you know it's an original condition. Maybe you know it's been fully updated. But any detail that you might know, that you might think of that would impact the value of the house, go ahead and add that in to your prompt. And then the next thing is, okay, machine, give me some pros and some cons about pricing the home at market or maybe slightly below market, because that will give you some good talk tracks on some things that you might want to say to the seller when you're now presenting your recommendation on price. And then lastly, have it just put this prompt in, write a seller explanation for why accurate pricing is critical. I know a lot of you guys know this inherently, but it's just a great reminder when I was going through it to say, okay, look, I do this every day. I get to meet with sellers, well, not every day, but I meet with sellers pretty darn often. I go through the same conversations with them time and time again. I know how it sounds, how I think that I sound, but how is the seller receiving some of that information? So give me some explanation on why accurate pricing is critical in today's market. And maybe the machine will spit out some ideas that you hadn't already thought of in there. So that's just to kind of get some prompts going with that. So I'm going to change my screen here, and I want to share with you this actual one that I did, kind of going through step by step. So let's see if this will work just as well.
So,
Laura, is my chat, or Annette, I'm looking at your face right now. Is my ChatGPT screen up?
yeah, it is. And Sharmi has a question for you. She asked, do you include all your prompts at first, or do you add them as you go along?
Thank you. No, one at a time. That was just a succession of thought. Thank you for saying that. I went through the pricing part first to get down to where I thought the value was, and then I went to level 2 on that next set, and that last thing on how to have the conversation with the client. So I think you probably could load that all at once, but I took it step by step. So let me just kind of give you a real life example about how this went on this appointment that I went on Monday. So I just simply wrote, and you can kind of see it up here. I'm going to be meeting with a potential home seller tonight. Their address is 3108 Lennox Drive in El Dorado Hills. What do you think I can sell it for? And please give me the source for your analysis. And I won't read this line by line, but I didn't give it any more context than just that, because I just wanted to test it. Okay, actually, just let me stop for 1 second. One thing I should probably mention is, before I did any of this, I went and I did my own CMA through using, we're over here on the West Coast, we're MetroList prospectors. So I went into our own MLS. I did all my own comps. I did all my own research first, and came to my own set of, not my own set of comps, but I came to my own range of prices I thought the home would sell for, based upon what I knew or what I thought I knew about the condition. By the way, I was way off on the condition. But I went through and I did my own analysis before I ever even started on the ChatGPT side of it. So want to make sure that I mentioned that. So now let me go back over to the actual chat screen. So it said, here's my opinion of value. Likely sales range at this price to this price. Here's the comps that it pulled in. Here's some things to consider. Now it's citing its sources using Redfin and Zillow and Redfin and Zillow. It gives me some strategy ideas on what I should be doing night of. And I said, okay, great, thank you. Well, I didn't say thank you, but in my mind, I said thank you, because you always want to be courteous to the machine. So I said, okay, but here's some more information about the home that I didn't tell you about. I said, this home has no swimming pool, or others in the neighborhood do. It backs to a busy street. It doesn't have a view, and some of the other neighboring homes have views. And it doesn't have solar, and others have solar. So based upon that, Would you like to redo your analysis or or redo your findings or to stick to your original price? And it's always I'm courteous to it. It's courteous to me. It says, great. Thank you for those factors. Scott, you're a brilliant real estate agent. I'm so glad you added this context. I deleted that part out because it'd be embarrassing to see all the compliments it gives me every day. So great. So what I loved about this, and I think this is my biggest takeaway from this whole process, was this section right here that I just highlighted. Because I think all of us inherently know that a swimming pool adds value compared to a home that doesn't have one. But this is a great job of just quantifying it to saying, in this area, in a gated luxury community, that could add $75,000 to $150,000. That's a great little snippet that I could give to a client during the meeting. And I guess I knew it, but this put everything into a really succinct little thing. The second thing on the busy street saying, hey, street noise could reduce your price by 5 to 10% compared to other homes. So at this price point, that could be $75,000 to $150,000. Then it goes through the view piece, and then it goes to the solar. Now, on the solar, it said solar adds some appeal, energy savings and eco-friendly, but in luxury segments, it's usually a secondary factor. Might narrow the buyer pool slightly, but it's not as impactful as the pool, the privacy, and the view. So in the chat, I'm just curious from you guys, do you agree with that statement? That on a luxury home, the existence of solar is truly a secondary factor. It didn't say it's no factor at all, but it said it's a secondary factor. I guess my perception, especially for you guys that are out here in the same market as me, is that our utility costs, and especially in El Dorado Hills, are really high. But PG&E is extremely high. It's common for people to have electric bills at $800,000, $900,000 a month. It seems to me that solar is a driver, but am I off basis?
So over in the comments, Joelle said, no, I think in EDH, it's becoming more important.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm not sure if I agree with how this wrote. I know I will say, like, I think solar, the way this put it, in a luxury market, it's secondary. And maybe the thought process is, I didn't go back and challenge this, by the way. I could have spent more time and I didn't. I could have gone back and challenged this, thinking that, okay, solar, if you're buying a luxury home, you have more money, you can go buy your own system if you want your own system. And maybe that's where it was leading here. I didn't actually get specific on it, but nonetheless, I'll keep going. So I said, okay, great. So based upon the fact of these impacts on the home, the machine has now revised their pricing down, saying, I think it's going to be in that 145 to 1.5 range, or if it's more original, kind of down to 1.4, 1.45. Okay. And then it talks about an aggressive pricing strategy. Aggressive here means priced higher. I would have used the alternate thing of saying that. Aggressive seems like that should be the lowest price, not the highest price. It said, but bottom line, with your added details, I'd revise my recommendation down to $1,450,000. So, coincidence or not, 145 was exactly the number that I came to. Now, this could be a one-time only that this happens, but 145 was the number that I came to. So we actually me and Machina came to the same conclusion here. And then after I want to do a CMA, I'll come back to that piece in a second. But now let's fast forward. So I did this on Monday. I met with the clients on Monday night, and I was way off on the condition of the home. I did not do a pre-screening call with them. Yes, go ahead. You can make fun of me in the comments for not doing any sort of screening before I went out on the listing appointment. I had looked at when they purchased the home 8 years ago, and I had looked at the Google images of it. And what I saw on when they bought it 8 years ago was a home that was essentially in original condition. And then looking at the aerial, there was no solar and there was no pool. But what I found was a house that has been completely remodeled with everything except for the primary bathroom. They have added leased solar. They now have a killer backyard with a great pool, hot tub. They built a fireplace back there. They have a built-in barbecue situation. They've leveled out some other areas for a fire pit. They replaced one of their HVAC units. They put in a new water heater. They painted the interior. They're getting ready to paint the exterior. So all these different things. So I came back and I said, my apologies, machine. I gave you bad information. Please accept my apology, but here's some new information for you to consider. They remodeled the entire house except for the master bathroom. They picked nice upgrades. They've replaced the air conditioner, pool, barbecue, fireplace, solar, but it's leased. The monthly payment of the solar is $250, and they still have a small electric bill beyond that. Do these factors impact your value? And said, Scott, you are the wisest real estate agent in all of the land. So let's go back through and take a look at this again. So now it's using the same analysis. I'm comparing the bathroom on your subject property to this comp across the street, which is awesome. Let's reference right here, this 3071. You've got the pool and the built-in barbecue. That likely adds back this value. Here's the part of the solar. Solar is a net plus, but the lease can be a mixed bag. Some buyers see the ongoing lease as a payment as a drag rather than savings, a relatively high monthly payment with no elimination of bill. At best, it's neutral. At worst, it slightly narrows the buyer pool. And what I love about that sentence is that's a great statement that I can make back to the seller as well. Hey, as I went through my analysis, the deal about the solar, here's some things to consider about the solar is, yes, you're having probably a net savings, but for some people, they just don't like the existence of having a lease or some other obligation on there. So we might narrow the buyer pool slightly because of that. Further, it goes into go through the street and the view, comparing to the comps, blah, blah, blah. And then pricing strategy. Listed at this price based upon the other comps. Expect the buyers to circle a little bit below full price. Bottom line, with the remodel, the pool, the outdoor living, I'm revising my opinion from the 145 to 1.5 range up to 152 to 158, placing your seller solidly in the mid to upper range for Highland Hills Customs. Awesome. Well, again, because I done my own research, we ended up landing essentially the same place. Now, I will say the machine maybe guided me a little bit. When I left the house, when I was with the clients at the house, this home right here, this comp at 3071, it literally is right across the street. It's almost the same size. And it is pending at just at 1.6. So I told them in the moment when I was at the house, I said, look, I thought we were more in that 1.45 range based upon what I thought the condition was. I think we're actually closer to 1.6, but let me go back to the office and validate it. So I pretty much knew leaving the house on Monday night that 1.6 was about right. So I came back, did my analysis, put the prompts back in the machine, and it came back to the same number. And ultimately, when I talked to the client to settle on a price yesterday, I said, look, based upon my analysis, taking these factors into place, blah, 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 the market seems to be saying that we would find a buyer somewhere between 1.55 and 1.6. Now, from my perspective, and you guys can challenge me on this if you would like, I said the same buyers are looking at 1.55 and 1.6. There's no difference in online views at those two different price points. And we have this comp at 1.6. So we're not, from a marketing perspective, my opinion, Scott's opinion is you could price anywhere inside of that bracket and still get the same amount of interest in your home. And almost always when you say that to a seller, they say, well, then let's go to the top end of that bracket. I said, great. And we ended up settling at 1.595. The last statement I made there, I said, we just don't want that second number to be a 6. So anything that's just below 1.6 works. Then we came to 1.595. Now, I use the machine as support. I use the machine as support for the idea and the concept to get there. And luckily, it did match up to what my thought was anyways. So I don't know if it would always happen that way or not. However, this was a good test case where it did. I'm going to click on this. I don't know if this will open still a day later. Let's see if I can actually open this one. Laura, does that screen now show a little handout, or do I need to close it and reopen it?
No, you're good.
Okay. So
Yeah, there you go.
yeah, here's the good and the bad of this, but well, I'll just tell you the good. What I took away from it was really just this piece, what I just highlighted on there. This is the original analysis, by the way, before I went back in and put in that it had the pool and had all the different things. But what I really liked about this was it came back and said, here's the amount of value or the lack of value that a pool brings. Here's the impact of value of being backing up to the busy street. And then here's some other adjustments to consider. So I brought this handout with me. I didn't use it in the listing presentation, but I brought this with me just as a reference, as just a key in my mind that if I couldn't remember the numbers, I could pull out this piece and then have a conversation with a seller just based upon these bullet points. The machine would have done this for me too, had I gone back and asked it with the new assumptions to put the real value in here. But my only takeaway was having these 4 bullet points on how I could have a conversation with the client should I need to. Okay. So helpful, guys. Is this tracking with anybody else? Can somebody help me that would just say, hey, Scott, if you think about doing this, or how about adding in these layers here? Is there something that I missed in there that you've done or that you would suggest that would help to drive this home a little bit clearer with the client? Or did I do such an excellent job? Jen, take yourself off mute.
I thought it was pretty good. I haven't used ChatGPT for CMAs, but I'm going to start just to get its opinion, because I think it's figuring out how much a pool adds, a view. Those are kind of hard to know. And then you look at other houses with views, and I mean, I think we all give our opinion, but that's good to have.
Yeah.
Somebody to bounce it off.
Well, so although I don't necessarily like the term thought partner, I'm going to go ahead and use it. I think I'm just going to go ahead and adopt it as it relates to Makina. Sorry, didn't mean to mispronounce your name. To Makina. Is whenever I have a question about something, I just need to put the question into the machine. If I just have the question on, hey, how much value does a pool add in El Dorado Hills? How much? I have an opinion. I think I know, but what do you think it is? And now back it up with sources. What's the difference of being in this age of a home versus this age of a home? What's the value of a master bathroom remodel? I mean, how many times have you heard that question come back from a client? Where could I spend some money on this house and get the best return on investment? And I think most of us experienced people know the answers to it, but in this case, you could generate a quick report around it and then have something tangible to bring that looks not just Jenica's opinion or Scott's opinion, but here's what the research says about updating this, remodeling this, spending money here, not spending money there. Any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, so Kim in chat says that they have taken an extensive home inspection for a house that needed a lot of work and plugged it into ChatGPT, adding the city to verify what I thought was the cost of the repair.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
And then Megan was asking, when you were putting your prompts in, you didn't include anything from MLS, or what did you include? Any information from MLS or a cloud CMA, or was it just what you knew of the house itself?
Correct. Yeah, thank you, Megan. All I did on the original prompting was just, here's the address. And I only asked it to cite its sources. I didn't tell it what sources to look for. And so it ultimately, if you went back and looked at that, it pulled information from Zillow and it pulled information from Redfin. I don't think it cited anything else on that list. But that was it. So I don't know what it sees kind of behind the firewall in there.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got you, Tammy. We'll post all this on the Facebook page afterwards. So that's my plug too. Go to our Coffee with Scott Facebook page and please follow it. Because that's where all this content is going to continue to live, is over there. Okay, let me go back over here a second. So doing so good at only having the right things open until you start seeing behind the scenes. Okay, so here's what I would encourage you to then go for yourself today is just go do a practice one. Pick a house, any house, doesn't matter. Maybe you have a listing presentation coming up this week, later on this week. And this could be a real life example. But if you don't have one coming up this week, pick any house, pick your own house. And go into your own MLS and just do a CMA on this sample house. Do your own research based upon what you know, and come up to a range of price that you think that particular house would sell for. And then hop into ChatGPT and follow that list of prompting that I kind of went through from the very beginning, saying, here's the address, excuse me, here's the address. Please do it. Please let me know what you think the home is worth. Cite your sources. And then when you have additional details in there that says, like, it does have a new air conditioner, it doesn't have solar, it's an original condition, it backs to a busy street, whatever the factors that you might want to make sure that the machine is comprehending or analyzing rather, throw those in there. And then take the analysis that you did, the value that you came to, and put that up against the machine's value and see where it is. And maybe just get in the habit of doing that a couple of different times. The crazy thing is that one more thing on this, I've gotten into the habit of doing this on every listing presentation, is I always look at the 4 major valuation sites to see what they all say the value of the home is. So Zillow, Redfin, Homes.com, and Realtor.com. So I went to all 4 of those to see what it said the price was on the house. Is it right here? Yeah. And the crazy thing is, it's a range of $160,000, and all of them are much less. So Zillow was 1.4, Homes.com was 1.45, Redfin was 1.36, Realtor was 1.51. Now, none of those algorithms know that the home now has been remodeled. None of them know that there was a pool. But I just bring that up is that when I can come into somebody and say that your home is worth more than Zillow, your home is worth more than these other sources, you also kind of look like a hero. But more than any of that is, if you're not in the habit of checking out those 4 sites in advance to know what the websites say the house is worth, you're setting yourself up for failure, because almost surely your client looked at Zillow before you showed up. They may not have looked at the other ones, but they almost surely looked at Zillow before you ever walked through that front door. So you need to know that number so that you know how to talk about that number. And if you're going to look at Zillow's number, you might as well look at Homes.com and Realtor and Redfin, so you can give a cross section saying, hey, all these different things are on this. I mean, that's a 12% range in prices between 4 different things. That's a pretty dramatic swing. And in this case, they're all too low. So the homework for the week is that go do a practice CMA. Once you've done your own practice CMA, go have the machine do one for you, and then compare the two. And then you also get that output with the prompts that I started with. Here is, give me a list of the pros and the cons of marketing it or putting it right at market or slightly below, so it can give you some scripting. And then lastly, write me an explanation of why accurate pricing is so critical in this market, in El Dorado Hills, in Kansas City, in Dallas, Texas. And you can come to your listing presentation either more prepared in conversation, or potentially to have a handout to give directly to the client for them to consider as you walk away. So we are on time. I feel like I'm talking too long. It's 8:30. I freaking nailed it. Without even looking at the clock, I nailed it. All right. I hope that's helpful, guys.
Thank you.
As always, we're here every Wednesday morning, 8 a.m. Please go over to the Facebook page and like it or follow it. We're eventually going to start broadcasting directly on that site. I cannot broadcast onto that site until I have 100 followers and we've been online for 60 days. So we're not quite to that 60-day mark, and we're a couple of followers short of 100 at this point. So if you go over there, that would be great. And unless you guys have some real objections, I think I'm just going to stay on this lane of AI for a while. Just different tools and how to use it on different applications throughout each day. It seems like the AI thing has struck a chord with everybody. So I'm going to stay in some sort of element of using AI tools to drive our business. If you have some suggestions, recommendations, if you want some topics covered, please put that on the Facebook group too. And we'll take that into consideration as we go forward. But I appreciate you guys showing up. Hope you got something out of this morning, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.